It's now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Jonathan Kleck. He served 25 years as a Navy SEAL. He is now the director of Greencastle Consulting. Please come up, Jonathan. Give him a warm round of applause, everyone.
Appreciate it. Good morning. I'm never sure how to come up on stage. It's always kind of an awkward thing. It's anticlimactic to just walk up. I feel like I should have some pyrotechnics or something, but apparently this 150-year-old rich mahogany is not conducive to pyrotechnics. Hey, thank you very much for having me, and thanks to Vet Indexes. I do work as a consultant. I do moonlight as a amateur comedian. So if you like really shitty bar food and mediocre comedy, you can find me on the amateur comedy circuit down in Philly's open mics. I'm not going to make fun of anybody's wife's alopecia, but if I do something that offends you, you can come up and slap me. Apparently that's the new norm. So who knew? I feel like if Chris Rock was a vet, I feel like that would end just a little bit differently. If you ever needed West Philadelphia born and raised, like if you ever needed a validation that Hollywood made you soft, it's the West Philadelphia kid who got offended at somebody making fun of his wife's alopecia, right? And felt compelled to come up there. But this isn't one of my bits. So when I had the opportunity to come up here, by the way, you'll notice I walk. If you ever watch one of the TED Talks, they have a red circle, which is actually, if you don't know, it's designed to keep the speaker contained. It actually gives me anxiety, so thanks for Vet Indexes for not putting that. You would see me just break out into cold. I actually feel a need to work the room a little bit. But when I had the opportunity to come up and talk, and knowing what the focus of this conference is, I thought, well, I'll talk to veterans about what we bring to the workforce. And I thought, well, we already know that we're awesome. We already know what we bring. It maybe what we need to talk a little bit more. And I think some of the VSOs in the room probably have this dialed in a little bit better, maybe than some of the veterans. And so what I really want to talk to is to the folks online and the folks in here is what we bring beyond the hard skills. What are those soft skills? We always say vets bring these soft skills. Well, what does that mean? And can we shed a little bit more light on what those soft skills are? So for the vets that are looking for employment, for the VSOs that are helping veterans find employment, or for the hiring managers, or for the division managers who are saying, hey, bring me a vet. I'm not sure why, just because I want to support veterans. We're not a charity case. We bring some really critical skills that everybody in business could use, and whether it's business or government or nonprofit sector. So I want to shed just a little bit of light on what I think some of those soft skills are. And I've boiled it down to just three based on my experience in the SEAL teams. And what I'll share is that my experience in the SEAL teams is unique to Naval Special Warfare, but it's not really unique to the veteran community. Most of the lessons that I've learned in my time, in my 25 years in the Navy, are lessons that a lot of other veterans have learned as well. So the first lesson is that veterans bring a positive attitude. And if you're a hiring manager, you might say, oh, that's great. That's something I can inspire everybody on a cat poster hanging up in the office. I'm dating myself, I think, to the 80s reference for the cat poster. But so having that positive attitude, you go, okay, that's great. Well, it's more than that. When everyone else is running around with their hair on fire in your organization, it's usually the veterans that are that beacon of steadfastness and calm. And panic and anxiety are contagious, but calm is also contagious. And so that veteran who brings that positive attitude is actually a critical component of the organizational culture. And I'll tell you, I learned it from a very early age. When I went into the Navy, I was 20, 21 years old when I got to BUDS or to SEAL training. And if you don't know, if you've watched any of the History Channel specials, that you start about 4 o'clock in the morning. One of my BUDS classmates is sitting in the back there. And you start about 4 o'clock in the morning, and no matter what you do, you have to show up and be positive. You have to have that positive attitude. The instructors show up and they go, who's ready to go for a 4 mile, 5 mile, 6 mile run? Who the hell knows? We're just going to run until we get tired. And then and everybody has to sound off with a loud and boisterous, hoo-yah! Hell yeah, I'm ready. I'm excited for this. And then after that, by the way, we're going to get wet and sandy. And then we're going to carry logs on our head. And that's all just before breakfast. And no matter what you do, you have to bring that positivity. And here's the magic that happens. You actually start to believe your own bullshit. You actually start, thank you for the veterans, they got that. And that's not unique to buds, right? Anybody who's been through Marine Corps boot camp or Army basic training or Air Force, I don't know what you guys do, like an online course. Yeah. Is that too soon? Obviously, there's not a lot of Air Force, or they get it. Whatever correspondence thing you do, I get it. Like when the internet's out, like how frustrating is that, Air Force? Netflix is out again. This 30-day deployment is too much for me to handle. Coast Guard, you're next. Don't worry. Oh yeah, don't worry. I'm coming after you too. Where was I? Yeah, adult ADD. It's a real thing. Thank you. Yeah. That was actually just part of my bit. Yeah. See, get crowd interaction. So that positive attitude, it's something that is infectious. It is something that veterans bring, and it's something that I don't know that the corporate sector really appreciates when everyone else is running around, when there's chaos and disorder. That beacon of calm, that beacon of the person who goes, hey, I've got this. And they bring that positive, infectious attitude. That's the first lesson that veterans bring. And so for hiring managers, it's not something that can be undervalued or can't be overstated. The second thing that veterans do is they learn to ignore the distractions. Again, not something unique to just what I did in BUDS, but something that every veteran, everybody who's been through the rigors of military service knows. From my particular experience, if you've watched any of these History Channel shows, you've probably seen the phase of BUDS, the second phase of SEAL training, where they spend a lot of time in the pool. And there's one week in particular, it's called Pool Comp or Pool Competency, which is a series of events designed by Satan himself to assess your comfort in the water, and to see, and really not just assess your comfort, but push you far beyond your comfort zone. And it starts with, you've probably seen the very sensational videos of they tie our hands and feet, they tie our hands behind our back and they tie our feet together and they kick us into the deep end, which if you're trying to assess somebody's comfort in the water, that's step one for figuring out if they're comfortable in the water, is taking away their hands and their feet. But that's really not even the most dramatic of the events that we do during Pool Comp week. It's a series of things, and gradually they increase them over the course of the week, and ultimately culminating on Friday with something called the surf hit. And essentially what it is you're a SEAL trainee, and you crawl, you have your scuba tanks on your back, and you have your mask and your fins, and you just swim along or crawl along at like the 9-10 foot end of the pool, and you're swimming along, and there's two instructors who are just swimming above you in a mask, fin, and snorkels. And what they designed to do, it's called surf hit, because it's designed to simulate if you were coming onto an enemy beach and you were getting turned up in the surf, if you were getting tossed. How can you maintain your composure? Again, you've built up all this week. How can you maintain your composure in the water and not get frazzled? How do you ignore the distractions? And so what happens is you're swimming along, and the two instructors will come down repeatedly. And what they'll do is they'll come down and find you, and they'll take your tanks, and they'll start banging your head on and off the floor. Do you really feel like you're right in the middle of BUDS? Because this is essentially it, right? They bang your head off the floor, and they rip your masks off, and they take your air on your tanks, and they turn it off, and they take your hoses, and your hoses they're not the hard hoses, they're actually the soft hoses, and they step on your back, and they pull the hoses tight, and they rip your mask, and they take you in, and they hit you on the head with your fins, and they designed to simulate what it would be like in very rough surf if you were coming in onto an enemy beach, and you lost all your gear, and you really got turned upside down. Can you maintain your composure? Can you ignore the distractions? So one piece that I just mentioned is they turn off your air, and they tie your hoses in a knot. If there was ever a distraction to being mission focused, it's being underwater without air. And here's the rub. You're not allowed to rocket to the surface. If you can't figure it out, you're not allowed to rocket to the surface, because if anybody knows diving physics, you have compressed air in yourself. If you rocket up, you can embolize. One of the instructors is on standby, so if you do come up, they knee you right in the gut. I'm sure that's by design, but they knee you in the gut so that you expend all the air so you don't embolize. But if you want to pass this exercise, if you want to pass the event, you have to work through the problem set. You have to work through the problem set and stay mission focused, ignore the distractions, and one by one work through the problem set, mostly being able to breathe again. So in that event, you're crawling along and they rip everything off, and one by one, you have to stay focused and ignore that distraction. And then I'll tell you, if you've ever been to the deep end of the pool and you start doing that funky chicken, you can imagine doing that now under pressure, two instructors. You're worried about, this is a pass-fail evolution. If I fail it, I'm out of buds, right? My dreams of becoming a SEAL are gone. So you're down there working. I can't rocket to the surface because I don't want to get nailed in the gut by an instructor. So you stay focused on there, and what you learn through this, in addition to a variety of physiological things, like even when your body starts doing this, you actually have much more air in your lungs, and your body actually has much more time underwater than your brain actually believes it has. But you start working through. You start trying to get your hoses untied. You get your air back on. You get your mask back on. You get your fins back on so you can swim along and essentially do it all over again. But in the course of that, what you learn is how to ignore the distractions. And I'll tell you that lesson, that kind of lesson that veterans learn, again, that's not unique to me. Every veteran in this room and every veteran online has had some sort of similar experience where they've learned to ignore the distractions, whether it was in Iraq and they didn't have the right resources, or they're getting their asses handed to them in an ambush and they had to figure shit out. Every veteran in this room has figured something out similar. And I'll tell you, that lesson for me carried on much later in life. So many years later, I was assigned to our SDV team, or our SEAL Delivery Vehicle team. It's essentially it's a miniature submarine, but submarine is sort of a misnomer. It's imagine being in a roller coaster cart just underwater. That's essentially what it is. You close the doors, but you're in a wetsuit. You're breathing off a scuba rig because it's not. You're fully surrounded by water. And in this situation, this is many years later. There's a pilot and a navigator who sit up front, and they work the SDV, and in the back of the SDV are mission specialists, people that are going to go up and attack the ship or go up over the beach and do our mission there. I happen to be one of the mission specialists. Now, Hollywood would give you an idea that being a Navy SEAL is about kicking in doors and rescuing damsels in distress every day. Sometimes, but mostly it's about sitting in the back of a small dark coffin underwater for about 12 hours on any given night, particularly if you're assigned to the SDV team. So on this particular training evolution, we're out off the coast of Virginia Beach. We're coming in to simulate an attack on the harbor. And this is just a routine dive for us. And I'm in the back, and we're probably 4 hours into our transit into the harbor. And I'm in the back of the SDV, and it's completely dark. It's probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And we've been underwater for 4 hours now. And as happens is I stay laser focused, and I'm sitting there planning, and I'm just scheming about, no, I'm like just a regular 23, 24-year-old kid. And I'm sitting there, and I do what anybody does, sitting in the dark underwater. After about 4 hours, I start to nod off. And so what happens when your body goes to sleep? You relax. Right? And what happens when you relax? If you don't know, if you have a scuba rig in your mouth, as you relax, your body says, you don't need that scuba rig. Now, I will tell you, I have been woken up by the dog barking. I've been woken up by the kids crying. I've been woken up by the car alarm going off. None of that rivals waking up to the sensation of drowning. So as you're in the back of this SDV, completely dark, and as you fall asleep and you spit your regulator out, you wake up to the sensation of drowning. And I'll tell you, that lesson that I learned from the early days of BUDS about crawling through and working through the problem set, staying mission focused, ignoring the distractions, probably no more important lesson in that moment than trying to figure out how I stay mission focused, how I ignore the distractions. So what do? in that moment, besides panicking, because that's my normal instinct, is to panic. But thank God I had been coached by better SEALs than me, and by more senior folks, and by the folks at the BUD/S training staff, just like all of us, the veterans in the room. I'd been groomed and coached by folks who knew that this would come, and that I would knew I would need this kind of skill set one day. So what do? You wake up to aspirating, and you're like, oh Christ, completely dark. So what do? Rather than panic and going into that panic, and this is important for those hiring managers and for the folks who go, well, yeah, what is it that veterans bring? What do? Rather than panic, I reached out to find the hose, and at this point, I'm really doing the funky chicken, right? Because now I just took in a mouthful of water, and I'm really, and I find the hose, and I trace the hose. It's completely dark, so imagine just doing this, and I trace the hose, and I find the regulator right in front of my mouth, of course, right where it should be, and I grab it, and I jam it in, and I take a breath, and my buddy who's sitting next to me, he doesn't know what the hell is going on. He just feels me flailing about. He gives me the leg squeeze. You okay? What do? I give him, yeah, all good. Just give him the leg squeeze back, and then we continue on. We Charlie Mike, right? We continue the mission. And then, of course, we go and we hit the harbor. On the way back, it happens again. And over the course of my career in the miniature sub community, that would happen many times over, until I actually learned to just bring some duct tape around and duct tape this thing to my face, which is really kind of an S&M thing, but that's a different story. Totally different bit. Yeah, come see me tonight at the cellar. I'll talk to you about that. No, so that's so ignoring the distractions. My experience in the SDV and my experience in BUD/S isn't unique to veterans and the experiences they've had, but it is valuable. If you're a hiring manager, if you're in the corporate sector and you're going, I need somebody with engineering skills. Do you really need somebody with engineering skills, or you need somebody who can learn engineering, but maybe brings something better, something that you can't learn in a classroom? And the final piece that I think is important about the lessons that veterans bring is that they don't quit. You might be able to bring in really hard charging folks out of Wharton or HBS, or you bring in some former professional athletes or Division I athletes who've gone on to do great things, and it's not to denigrate them, but veterans bring a different mindset. We talked about the fact that they ignore distractions, they bring a positive attitude, but the other thing that they bring is that mindset of that they won't quit. Probably the best analogy I've been able to come up with, and it's unique to me in my experience, but it goes to everything that veterans bring, and that experience that we bring. And the best way I've been able to explain it is, I ask audiences when I do speak, and I ask the audiences, I say, let's go out to down to the Jersey Shore, and we'll go down to the beach. We'll go past the syringes and down to the shoreline. And yeah, thank you for the one guy who laughed about it. Listen, that's as good as the jokes are going to get. Like, I got about 6-7 minutes. Like, that's as good as it's going to get. We're literally on the downhill slide. Let's go over down to the Jersey Shore, and let's go down out to the water, and we'll go to the water's edge. And I'll ask you to walk out. I'll walk out just beyond the breakers. So maybe 100 yards, go just beyond the breakers, turn right, and I want you to swim 20 miles. And I usually ask audiences, I say, how many of you could do that? You're not far off. You're not that far off the water. You just go out into the water, just beyond the breakers, turn right, so we're heading south, and swim 20 miles. How many of you could do that? And that's the question I usually ask audience. And I usually get maybe one hand. Some hard-charging guy or gal's like, yeah, hell, I can do it. I'm like, you don't know how far 20 miles is in the water. That's a hell of a long distance. But what if I flip the script a little bit? What if I put us in a boat, went down to the water's edge, and I put us in a boat, and I took us straight 20 miles out. There you go. Land is 20 miles that way. I'll see when you get in. Now, how many of you could swim 20 miles? And usually, almost every hand will go up. And every hand will I'll say, well, wait a minute. I asked you if you could swim 20 miles parallel with the beach, and you said no. Now I took you 20 miles out, and you said you could do it. What's the difference? Well, then it's do or die. Then it's sink or swim. Well, that's the magic about what a veteran brings to the workforce, and what a veteran brings to any organization is that anybody can swim when they're 20 miles in. Anybody can swim 20 miles when they're 20 miles out, when it's do or die. Here's the magic, and this is John's anecdotal evidence, supported by no science at all, that the people who make it through buds and those who don't are the people who, not 20 miles out, anybody can make it through buds or make it through Marine Corps boot camp or make it through a deployment or survive in combat or become a helo pilot. Anybody can do that if you're 20 miles out. If it's do or die, anybody can do that. The difference is veterans, in my opinion, veterans very rarely find themselves 20 miles out. And that's the difference. You don't have to be 20 miles out. In my experience, is in my anecdotal opinion, is that those who survive buds are not people who are 20 miles out. They're the ones who are swimming parallel with the ocean, swimming that 20 miles parallel with the option to quit. I'm 100 miles off the beach. There it is. There's my option to quit. There's it calling to me. Like, this sucks. 20 miles is too hard. It's too far for me. There it is, calling me to quit. And the average person wouldn't swim 20 miles parallel with the beach. Why? Because the option to quit is right there. It's calling my name. I'm swimming 20 miles. When I get tired, when it's too much, when I don't feel like going any farther, when I've hit an obstacle that I can't overcome, I'll just swim in. It's only 100 miles. I'll swim through the breakers, ride the waves in, and I'll quit. Well, here's the cool thing about, in my opinion, what veterans bring is veterans are swimming 20 miles along with the ocean. They're very, very rarely in life are we in a do or die situation, but veterans bring that mindset of always being 20 miles out, even when they're swimming parallel with the ocean. So for the VSOs in here and the hiring managers listening online, for the veterans, if you're in an interview and they say, well, what skills do you bring? I would say, rather than asking what kind of skills are needed in the organization, I would say, do you need somebody who brings a positive attitude, somebody who can ignore the distractions, and somebody who won't quit? Thanks very much.